And I'll close with this, my annual year-end awards. Now, I know that there was a lot of drama around Sports Illustrated this week and their year-end awards. There were the panel of 9 writers voting on the various categories with an evaluation period of December 16, 2024 to December 13, 2025. Last year, their awards heavily skewed in favor of WWE. AEW only took home 2 awards, and WWE won for Promotion of the Year. A lot of that had to do with Cody Rhodes finishing his story at WrestleMania and the CM Punk Drew McIntyre feud that culminated in their Hell in a Cell match. It was well deserved. This year, their awards heavily skew in favor of AEW. And of course, it's gotten the expected reaction from, various parts of the internet and social media. And so for the people pissing and moaning about it, let's take this step by step and show you why it is not as ridiculous as they make it out to be. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go category by category based on SI. And let me just say that Sports Illustrated is but one outlet, right? I mean, it's a small panel of people that work for the publication that put out these awards. And you're going to have other websites and other publications and other podcasts that are going to do the same thing. One does not have any more weight than the other. If Meltzer does it in The Observer, it does not have any more weight to me than the next one after it. And the same goes for me and my thoughts and opinions on who I would give various awards to. And so people do not need to get upset about this. It is not worth getting upset over. I don't know why people would get upset over this, but it will make for an interesting discussion here. So let me go category by category per SI, and I will chime in with my own thoughts and my own awards as we go along. Now, they had as the storyline of the year, Hangman Adam Page's redemption arc. Now, they also listed as their runners-up for this award, John Cena's retirement and the downfall of the Death Riders. Okay, these are the runners-up for best stories of 2025, which shows you just how thin the stories were this year. If you have got John Cena's retirement tour and the fall of the Death Riders in the top 3 for stories of the year. I'm still waiting for the actual fall of the Death Riders, by the way, like the full-on fall. Cena's retirement only wins for second place if there are exactly 2 stories in all of wrestling for the entire year. Then yes, John Cena's retirement could be the runner-up. That's the only way that wins. This was not a great year creatively, especially for WWE. The stuff with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens that he was doing at the beginning of the year, that was good, but that story really dates back to their first match at Bash in Berlin. And that was in August of last year. All right, the evaluation period would only cover the tail end of what they did. What other major stories did WWE tell this year that would make them worthy of storyline of the year? John Cena should have won for story of the year had the heel turn never happened. And had they told the correct story with him. They didn't do that. John Cena's retirement tour wins the award for biggest blunder of 2025. But is it really that far-fetched that Hangman's redemption arc would win for best storyline in a year that wasn't so strong on them to begin with? I honestly don't have an issue with them choosing that. Hangman is the main character of AEW. Has been since day one. He went from being a crazed heel, right, spurred on by Swerve Strickland, back to being a babyface once he realized the error of his ways. And even if it wasn't Tony Khan's first choice for Hangman to win the Owen and get the shot at All In Texas, right? Think about this. Daniel Bryan was not Vince McMahon's first choice to go to the main event of WrestleMania 30 and win the world title, but that's what ended up happening. And you can't tell me that Bryan overcoming the Authority to win the championship at WrestleMania was not the story of the year that year. Of course it was. The fact that it wasn't the original plan does not take away from the end result. Jey Uso's journey to the world title is not the story of the year. John Cena's heel turn and return to redemption is not the story of the year. There is no road to redemption when you push a button and in one night you flip the guy back to being a babyface because you realize you done fucked up. They could have told that story, but they didn't. The drama with Paul Heyman turning on multiple people and ending up with Seth Rollins, that is not the story of the year. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky against the Kabuki Warriors. and all of the soap opera shit that's been playing out on television with them for months now. That is not the story of the year. This Cody and Drew stuff is not the story of the year. So please tell me, what from WWE would you consider to be the story of the year? The Hangman pick is the correct one. He is a character the fans are emotionally invested in. Their fans are. He went off the deep end coming out of the Swerve feud. He lost his way, but he found his way back in time to rescue the company and the championship from a group that had an iron grip on it for the entire year, up to the point that Moxley tapped out and the belt finally came out of that briefcase. That match, and I said this going into it, that match is going to be their Avengers Endgame match, the way that Cody and Roman was at WrestleMania 40, with all the baby faces coming out to fight off the Death Riders and to give Hangman a clear path to the title. Me personally, my close runner-up would have been the heat between Takeshita and Okada. And it is nothing too deep. Like, we haven't even gotten a match between them yet. We haven't had a single fucking match between Takeshita and Okada, right? We haven't gotten any cinema out of it. No long promos. And yet, it's been a very simple story, very simple storytelling. But it's been very effective in building interest in their eventual match, which hopefully we will get next weekend. In a year week on big stories, it's the one that I have had the most fun with, albeit in the second half of the year, but it's the one that I have had the most fun with. So I'm fine with the Hangman pick, but if I wasn't going to go with that, I would go with Takeshita and Okada. And the very simple story that they have been playing out between these two and Callis and the heat between them, and then the segments where Okada will just make these comments or he'll turn the TV or whatever it might be. If not the Hangman stuff, that would get my vote. For Rivalry of the Year, they went with Hangman Adam Page and Jon Moxley. Now, last year was an easy choice with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. It was a no-brainer. This year, it's not as cut and dry. I don't think that there have been any rivalries in wrestling that have matched that one. It's been a down year for great rivalries. All right, where's the Punk and Drew or the Hangman and Swerve of 2025? There is none. CM Punk and Seth Rollins would be the closest thing, and that I can't say that excited me nearly as much as those other ones did. Neither did the actual feud with Hangman and Moxley. I would give the edge to Punk and Rollins in this category, although Hangman and Moxley, it had the better payoff. Heel turn of the year. They went with Naomi. She won the voting. Now, some people are going to look at this and go, what the fuck? Heel turn of the year? How are you going to go with anything other than John Cena? I actually don't disagree with this pick, and I'm going to tell you why. If we are talking about the actual turn itself, in the moment, the answer is John Cena. Unequivocally. Second best heel turn of all time if you just look at it for what it was on that night with the players involved. But if when you say heel turn, best heel turn of the year, and you include the story leading up to it, any character developments, what followed it, right, the evolution of the character, by that criteria, then I believe, yes, the answer is Naomi. So it really all depends on your definition of heel turn of the year. Are we talking about a single moment where this person turned heel, or are we talking about sort of the entire body of work that led up to it and what came out of it? Because what came out of the John Cena turn was absolute fucking garbage. And there was nothing that led up to it. Nothing. It was a moment. As John Cena himself said in the interview with Cody Rhodes, they did it for a moment. There was no story involved. There was no hint of anything. There was nothing. There was a phone call from the head of Endeavor to The Rock saying, save us. We need help for the Elimination Chamber. But Naomi, she really did. She evolved that character, and they were playing stuff out on TV where it was kind of like, she looks like she's probably going to turn, but I don't know. Maybe she won't. Maybe they'll swerve us and go with somebody else. But then she did, and it was, again, the best thing that could have happened to her. And I think she would have gone on this great run had she not have had to vacate the championship when she did. I think her best work was yet to come. But what we did get of it, I don't argue with this. I would say yes. Heel turn of the year, I'll give it to Naomi. Best on the mic. They gave the award to Timeless Tony Storm. I disagree. I like Tony Storm. I think Tony, she's very quick-witted. She's certainly great on the microphone. I got to give this to CM Punk. I give this Best on the Mic award to Punk, from the bald fraud rant after WrestleMania to his promo in the ring with John Cena to the angry Punk that we got in the ring last Monday talking about Braun Breaker. When Punk is on, especially when we get angry Punk on the mic, there is still nobody better with a live mic in wrestling, with a live mic in their hand, than CM Punk. And we may not get that version of Punk on television every single week, but we're not exactly getting, legendary Toni Storm promos weekly either, right? She has her moments, Punk has his. I think Punk's moments were stronger than hers. I give him the award. Best in the ring, they gave it to Will Ospreay. I certainly have voted similarly in the past. For me, it's close. I would give this to Konosuke Takeshita. I think Takeshita just clears him this year, in part because of the injury, and so Ospreay has missed a lot of time this year. That Takeshita has only gotten stronger, right? He won the G1, he won the IWGP title, he's got this stuff going on with Okada, he's having these weekly matches in the Continental Classic that are very good. His body of work, I just think overall this year will end up being stronger, and you can't go wrong with Will Ospreay, but I got to give the edge to Takeshita on this. Breakout Wrestler of the Year, Sports Illustrated went with Kyle Fletcher. I'm not going to argue it. This absolutely has been a breakout year for Kyle Fletcher. He even got his first pay-per-view main event, a shot at the World Championship. He won the TNT Championship. He is one of the crown jewels of that Don Callis family, and he is someone who, in the next few years, should be an AEW World Champion. And they could absolutely build around him as part of their core. We used to talk about the pillars of AEW for so many years, right? Darby and MJF and Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara. And I feel like the pillars have changed over the years. But I could see Kyle Fletcher, if you want to use that term, if he isn't already, being one of those pillars for them in the future, where the company sort of relies on him as one of their biggest stars. And I think eventually one of their biggest baby faces. But this is the year that we will look back on and say, okay, this is where he became that guy that you could see being in that role. This is where he took that one giant leap forward. And the matches that he has had this year, on top of all of that, have been phenomenal. Even in this tournament, even in this Continental Classic, it's been fantastic. I would go with a close second. I would go with Javon Evans of NXT. I think this has absolutely been a huge breakout year for Javon. He's all over the place. I mean, Javon is not just in NXT, but he's on Raw, he's on SmackDown, they've got him in AAA, they had him in TNA against Leon Slay. I mean, he is everywhere. And still very, very young, but as good as he already is, imagine how much better he'll be, a few years from now. It's scary. Which is not to say that he can't be on the main roster right now. He absolutely can be. I would put the NXT Championship on him, give him a run with it first before we elevate him, to that level on a permanent basis. But yeah, I have Javon as a close second to Kyle Fletcher. Then we have Comeback Performer of the Year. And the Sports Illustrated voting gave it to Ilya Dragunov. I am going to go a different way with this, and I'm going to give this to Bandito. And so Dragunov, he missed 13 months with an ACL tear. And he's been on a tear ever since he came back, right? But he's only been back since October. He hasn't been back for that long. He won the United States Championship his first night back from Sami Zayn. He has had good to great matches almost every single week ever since. But it is still a limited body of work. I mean, what are we really talking about here? 10 matches? And it just cannot compare to the body of work that Bandito has put together since returning. And it was a tough comeback for Bandito. He suffered a broken wrist, and this is going back maybe a couple of years now. He broke his wrist, had surgery. It didn't heal properly. He needed a second surgery. Then he finally comes back at the very end of last year. And what happens? His first night back on Ring of Honor, right? Coming out to attack Jericho in the Learning Tree and whatever, and he suffers a concussion. Landed on the back of his own head coming off the top rope, and he concussed himself. And that was his first night back. But since then, he has been tearing it up in the ring. Ring of Honor World Champion. An unexpectedly great tag team run with Brody King where they won the tag team titles. And honestly, he may genuinely be the most fun performer to watch in the ring in all of wrestling. So I'm going with Bandito for the comeback story of the year. Kenny Omega would be my runner-up, just for the match with Gabe Kidd alone at Wrestle Dynasty. I mean, this man missed over a year of action, almost fucking died. And in his first match back, he goes out there and does that with Gabe Kidd? Are you kidding me? After that, you got the match with Takeshita at Revolution, the match with Okada in Texas. I mean, those were just gravy after that. I just wish he was healthy enough to have bigger singles matches since then, because since then you could tell they've kept him very limited. So that's what I would do. I'd give the award to Bandito. I'd have Omega as my runner-up, and then after Omega, I would have Ilya Dragunov. I would have him third on the list. Tag Team of the Year. Sports Illustrated gave it to FTR. I think that was a mistake. FTR obviously is a great tag team, and they are the tag team champions right now. They were not the tag team of the year. I believe Brodito was the tag team of the year. Brody King, Bandito, a makeshift team that got put together legitimately because Tony Khan saw them do their gun finger handshake backstage. That is how Brodito became a thing. And they were a revelation together. So much fun to watch, great chemistry, great matches. And they got a tag team title run out of it for a few months. And so right behind Brodito, I'm actually going to go with Matt and Jeff Hardy. And here's why. Not only did they win tag team titles across multiple promotions, including NXT and TNA, but I think they were central to TNA getting a television deal with AMC. They are arguably the biggest stars in the entire promotion. And TNA has featured them, if you'll note. Not only has TNA featured them all year long, without the Hardys, I don't think that they get that deal, right? They have the WWE partnership, so it may have happened anyway. But even if you watch the commercials that have been airing on AMC where they're previewing January 15th, right? Impact comes to AMC. Look who's in the commercials. Look who is all over the ads for the show. It's the Hardys. So they have been more important to their home promotion than Brodito. I've just had more fun watching Brodito come out of nowhere and do what they've been able to do over the past several months. And in ring, their body of work is much stronger. So I would go Brodito, and then the runner-up for me would be the Hardys. Match of the year. Sports Illustrated had it as Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 41. I'm going to reserve my pick for when I do my top matches of the year countdown, probably next week. But I have absolutely no problem whatsoever with this choice. I might have been willing to give it to Javon Evans and Leon Slater at TNA Bound for Glory had they not monumentally fucked up the finish. That match was on its way to being an all-timer. But I have no issue with them picking that as their choice. Show of the year. Sports Illustrated chose AEW Double or Nothing back in May. I agree with this pick. I would go with Double or Nothing, top to bottom, as the best show of the year. For me, it's between Double or Nothing and Elimination Chamber. As great as Elimination Chamber was with the heel turn at the end, which, again, in a vacuum, all-time great heel turn, right? Number 2 all-time. The best women's Elimination Chamber match that I think they've ever done. A very good men's chamber. And it had an excellent Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn match, right? That non-sanctioned match. At the end of the day, it's still a 4-match show. 4-match PLEs are just not going to be able to measure up when you put them up against a pay-per-view with, say, 6 or 7 5-star quality wrestling matches. And then also a few others that are at least good. I just wish the shows weren't so damn long. I wish there was more of a happy medium, right? The happy medium actually would be Evolution in July, which was one of the best shows all year. But quality-wise, I don't think it measures up to the best that Double or Nothing had to offer. Or even Revolution, right? But that main event ruined it for me with Moxley and Copeland. Revolution was a great show until we got to the main event. So Elimination Chamber would be my WWE show of the year with Evolution right behind it, nipping at its heels. You know what? For me, it's like 1A and 1B, honestly. And for AEW, Double or Nothing would be tops, followed by All in Texas, and then probably Revolution, even with the dog shit ending. Female Wrestler of the Year. Sports Illustrated went with Mercedes Moné. Mercedes had an excellent year with her match output, 48 matches across multiple promotions, not just AEW. Io Sky, who I think is just the best. She had a little bit less. She had 35 matches, one of which came against Mayu Iwatani and Marigold. And I did watch that, and that was excellent. Io, to me, is just on another level from everyone else in ring. And this was her breakout year in WWE, which sounds so silly because she's worked there for 7 years. But it really was. It really felt like a breakout year for her. But you need to account for more than just who you think is the best in-ring talent at any given moment. And I said this a few weeks ago when the PWI rankings came out with their top 250 women's wrestlers in the world. They had Mercedes in number 1. And there's a lot of kayfabe mixed in there with that, but she had an impressive year. I don't care so much about which title she has. That's kind of irrelevant to me. But I can tell you, when she's out there challenging for or going back and defending those other belts on the independent scene, it makes a difference to those promotions. Like, she moves tickets. You could argue whether or not she does in AEW, but she moves tickets. That cannot be understated. You know, her shit goes up after the fact on YouTube or whatever, and it's got, you know, a couple of 100,000 views within 5 or 6 days. It cannot be understated. And the story, then there's the story in AEW of her not being able to win the big one. Because there is a story there. And I was telling you as we were going into the match with her and Statlander especially, like, okay, this is what I think the story is, and this is where I think it is going. She's going to win all of these other championships, and she's going to gloat, and she's going to drink champagne and have celebrations and eat caviar and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, she's overcompensating because she cannot win the big one. She failed twice this year alone trying to go after that world championship. So if you pay attention, there is a story there. Now, as far as promos, Io's promos are not great. But frankly, neither are the ones we've gotten from Mercedes. So for me, it's a wash. But when I look at their body of work this year, Io had 2 of the best matches anywhere this entire year. But her run coming out of WrestleMania really hurt her. She didn't do much. The booking hurt her. In that top 250 ranking, they had Io too low. They had her at number 6. I will concede when you look at her overall body of work for the year across multiple promotions, I think Mercedes at number 1 is the correct choice. But I could go either way. I could go with her. I could go with Io. I would not have any issue with somebody saying Io Sky should be number 1. But I don't see the problem with them having Mercedes in number 1. Now, as far as runners up, Timeless Toni Storm and the stuff that she did with Mariah May earlier this year, that alone puts her near the top. And then Becky Lynch. I was surprised she didn't get a mention here, but Becky Lynch did more for that women's Intercontinental title this year than WWE has done for the women's United States Championship since the day it was conceived. So she at least deserves an honorable mention. She's also up there in that top 3 or 4 as far as the women go for the entire year. Men's Wrestler of the Year. Sports Illustrated had it as Hangman Adam Page. If you base it on business and in-ring output, the answer is probably Mystico for all that he has done with CMLL. But I just have not seen enough of his work this year outside of a handful of matches to just, and I don't watch CMLL week to week or anything. I cannot sit here and justify making him my Men's Wrestler of the Year. When I look at character and I look at in-ring taken together, I can't really disagree with the Hangman pick. I really can't. You know, there was an argument to be made, I think, maybe for Seth Rollins in terms of, again, his in-ring work and, you know, forming the vision and leading the top heel stable on Raw. Then he got hurt. So it's like, all right, well, he got hurt at a bad time, and he got hurt closer to the end of the year. But he still got hurt, and he's missing the last couple of months of the year. So I look at someone like Rollins, and I think he's up there. I don't want to say he's my number 2 necessarily, but, you know, he deserves at least a mention here. But again, is it really that outlandish that they would go with Hangman Adam Page as the male wrestler of the year when you take all of these other things, not just the in-ring, but the in-ring and the story, the character, all that stuff, and what they had him doing this year into consideration. I know that once he won the championship, it kind of fizzled out after that because it was almost like it was about the chase, right? It's like the dog catching the car. It's like, oh, now what? But I don't really have an issue with them going with Hangman as male wrestler of the year. I don't think it's necessarily cut and dry for any one person slam dunk. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's this guy. I don't think so. So I don't have a problem with that. And then, last but not least, promotion of the year. This is the one that I'm sure made some people's heads explode. It's actually kind of funny. Last year, they went with WWE as the promotion of the year, and I thought that was well-deserved. This year, they went with All Elite Wrestling as the promotion of the year. And here's what I'll say about this. What is even the criteria for this? You're going to have people that look at this and go, how can you say that AEW was the promotion of the year when they are still barely filling buildings for some of their weekly television, or they're filling buildings, but they're running buildings that fit like 1,000 people? Where are the days of Dynamite when they would run bigger venues or NBA venues and they could put 5 or 6 or 7,000 people any given week in a building for Dynamite? That is still very much a problem for AEW heading into 2026. Because if they felt confident that they could put that many people in a building for an episode of Dynamite, guess what? They'd be doing it. Clearly, they don't have the confidence to do so. That's an issue. Dynamite used to be in a different place than it is now. Forget the in-ring stuff. I'm sure everybody would say, oh my God, the in-ring is so great. True, but if you're looking at it from like a business perspective, like, do you factor that into your decision? Do you just look at it as what promotion gave me the best matches and the best stories? Right? Or do you incorporate all these other things? How much money did they make? How many tickets did they sell? Right? Because by that criteria, I mentioned CMLL before. I don't know that there was any other promotion that had the kind of year that CMLL had, where they moved over 1 million tickets in one fucking venue for the entire year. Like, that is unheard of. So, like, business-wise, it would almost have to be WWE, or you can make the case for CMLL. But, like, when you take into account all of these other awards that I just went through, right, and the majority of them from SI went to AEW, and I think the majority of the ones I just gave out went to AEW as well. When they win that many awards for best wrestler or, you know, best story or whatever I just went through here, then yes, the answer would be AEW. If the majority of the answers came from AEW, then that would make AEW your promotion of the year. If most of your awards went to WWE, then your promotion of the year would be WWE. If you watch CMLL and all you watch is that, or Lucha Libre, and you know to you, Mystico is going to be the biggest star of the world, and CMLL is in a hot period right now, and they would be your promotion of the year. It is such a subjective thing with no set list of criteria that it's almost impossible to give an answer. It's all subjective anyway, of course. But in this case, just looking at all the awards that I just doled out, yeah, you know what? I'd have to go with AEW, and I'll tell you the other reason why. Because this has absolutely, I will not sit here and tell you that WWE, oh my God, we're back to the bad old days, right? I know what the bad old days are like. We're not in the bad old days, but this was by no means Triple H or WWE's strongest year in the last 5 years, okay? I don't care how many tickets they sold, how much fucking money they made. I watch these shows week to week. As I was sitting here going through these different categories, it was a struggle to come up with like rock solid WWE choices for every category that would win each category. There's a reason why a lot of them did not win. This was not their strongest year. So if I'm looking at WWE and I'm struggling to come up with different categories to say like, oh yeah, WWE blew them away and blew them up. There's obvious winner here, obvious winner there. How the fuck can I sit here with confidence and tell you that the promotion of the year is WWE when my overall feeling towards this company and the stories they've told throughout the entire year and the John Cena run and everything in between has largely been apathy? And there was a lot of that also with AEW this year. Believe me. Oh, believe me, there was. But there is nothing about this year that WWE had as a fan, as a viewer of the show week to week that makes me go, hey, promotion of the year. I'll sit here and give AEW Promotion of the Year honors, but I won't exactly be sitting here doing it with a whole ton of enthusiasm. Frankly, it had more to do with just how bad of a year, creatively, WWE had than anything else. But all this nonsense about, conspiracy theories and Tony, got the check clear, the check's in the mail, and all this other nonsense. You know what? At the end of the day, I see all these people on social media. It's just a lot of people who just cannot accept opinions from other people. And it just blows their mind so much that they have to justify it in the most ridiculous, insane ways. Well, this simply cannot be possible. There's only one explanation for it. Clearly, Tony Khan is greasing some palms here. And people take this shit seriously, and it's fucking sad. Again, it's all subjective. Your awards and your opinions on these are probably going to be very different than mine. Mine are going to be different from yours and the next person and the next person. I don't see anything on this list that is egregiously bad. I told you the ones I disagree with. Some of them are different. A lot of them I agree with. I don't see anything egregiously bad or like, oh my God, what were they thinking on this list?